Welcome to a new episode of Rawcast 80. If you don't know by now, I'm your host, Doug. And, yeah, yeah, it's been interesting since I last uploaded, I believe, episode 18 or something like that. I don't really know. Um, a lot to unpack. I had talked about listening to more of the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, kind of like reigniting my interest in Buddhism. But regardless of how one tries to live more at peace with oneself or more at peace with the universe, there's always going to be things that just drive you fucking crazy. And I mean, so the first one would be that I had a somewhat of a falling out with a family member, and of course that just doesn't last. And so the first time in a few weeks of talking to this person, they are going through and kind of talking about their own psychological experiences on top of a bunch of other superficial things. But not that I am definitely not licensed, certified. I hold no authoritative position. I have no authority whatsoever, other than basically through my own layman, uneducated, well, becoming a little more educated, but my own layman, limited experience. I was able to offer up some differing perspective to this individual. So imagine this person is saying, well, what I was dealing with, this made me feel this way and blah, 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 blah. And I know I'm probably just reading into it too much. It could be the depression, blah, blah, blah. Here is an alternative perspective for you to think about for just a moment, because what I have learned through my own limited education, my freelance journey through this, here is what I would like you to at least consider. And what I found funny is, despite the fact that I would speak, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes at each of these points that they would bring up a psychological struggle of their own, as soon as I was done talking, there was no direct response to what I had said. And their end of the conversation picked up exactly where they had left off. So after the third or fourth attempt of trying to help this person, I had to finally come to the conclusion that, oh, I get it. You don't actually want help. You don't want to find yourself working towards any sort of progress with this situation that you have brought up to me. You just decided that you needed me in your life to dump all of your problems, an ear to listen. Now, an ear to listen is great, but when you spend hours, and I won't even say the exact amount of time because it would make most people shit their pants, 9 hours and 55 minutes. 9 hours and 55 minutes on the phone, and the person didn't even really want to fucking listen. It's like, hey, I get that this is a two-way call, but could you just let me basically bounce a bunch of shit off you, and if you send anything back to me, I'm not interested? So that drove me fucking nuts. As you know from previous episodes, I have learned to become a little more selfish. When I say selfish, I know that can be taken as like a negative trait, but for me, it's learning to take the time that I need for myself and stop trying to please everyone around me. There's a time and place, but I am not the world's servant. I'm not some fucking dumpster where everybody can just pull up and dump their trash inside of me. That's not what I'm about. So that was the most mentally and emotionally taxing situations in my life thus far was having to listen to somebody talk at length and not even be interested. It's like, here are my problems. Okay, well, what are we going to do to help you solve those problems? No direct response whatsoever and jump right back into superficial bitching. Holy shit. Oh, but of course that had to happen on my one fucking day off. The one day per week that I don't have to go deliver a bunch of bullshit to other people. Right now, I get it to some extent if you are choosing to sit at home and order things rather than go to the store and get them yourself. But we've been down this road before, Rawcast. We've been down this road. The least you can fucking do is say thank you. All right? But like I've said before, since I'm doing twice as much work for the same amount of fucking pay, yeah, it gets on your nerves a little bit. I do a pretty good job of getting into the office, sorting everything that I need to sort that's going to go out for delivery that day, and just handling it in a stoic fashion. Like, I have to remind myself, it does not matter if you think this is good. It does not matter if you think this is bad, because you are here right now and this is what you are having to deal with. So just do it. But as the aggravations keep pelting me in the back of the head, it is testing my patience more and more. And this isn't to say that I took those frustrations and then focused it elsewhere as like a reaction, but I did finally get irritated enough with Facebook that I deleted my account, my personal profile, not deactivated, full on deleted that sumbitch. In addition, I deleted the Rawcast AD Facebook page, which has been up for probably 5-6 years. Maybe longer. And then I also deleted the My3B page. I mean, the way I see it, and this isn't like, I'm not trying to cry. I'm not trying to complain. But it was for the most part, the majority of the people, will focus on the My3B page. The majority of the people who liked the My3B page were friends and family. And I got tired of basically the same 2 or 3 people doing the reactions on the posts. And like, I get that that's going to happen, but at the same time, if you bothered to like the page, you should at least interact a little bit. Like, it doesn't do me any favors if you're going to like the page and unfollow right away. Like, sure, that gives me 1 extra page like, but then it just seems empty. It seems superficial. We were actually trying to build a community, and I felt like Facebook was becoming too much of a distraction, because now, instead of putting all of my effort into making the episode of the podcast, I was now focusing so much of my energy even making the podcast of how we're going to spin this to get more people through Facebook or Twitter to actually tune into an episode. And it gets really irritating when you see that, like, the junk posts, the shit posting, getting all the attention, whereas the meat and potatoes, like the whole reason that Facebook page exists, goes mostly unnoticed. And so it's not like I was saying, well, nobody's reacting, but it was kind of like, well, why do I fucking bother doing this? Like, I'm tired of basically putting a fucking stupid hat on and grabbing the cymbals and dance monkey dance. So, I mean, that was the smallest of the irritations with social media. And let's be honest, Twitter's even fucking worse. But it did get worse from there. Basically, with Facebook, I told myself I wouldn't do it. I never, rarely if ever, dove into the public threads. And unfortunately, I saw a friend of mine from back in the college days engaging in one of these public forums. And this person that they were addressing was being a total fucking cockstain. And I couldn't help myself. I made a comment, and then this person just... It was stupid of me to even engage. But this person, even though I didn't say anything overly offensive, they flagged my post. And what they had said was actually, in my opinion, pretty fucking stupid and borderline violating Facebook's policies. So I called the person out when I got flagged. I'm like, "Are you seriously flagging my post?" And they're like, "Well, it's intolerant hate speech." And now, just to let you know, I was not engaging with one of the woke crowd. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google that shit and come back and listen to the rest of this if you want. But I wasn't engaging a woke person. I wasn't engaging one of those easily offended, the reason the term snowflake came into existence. This was a goddamn Trump supporter, anti-masker, COVID is a hoax type. So this person went woke on me. And so I called them out, and they said it's intolerant hate speech and blah, 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 blah. And so, like I said, one of their nastier posts, I fucking reported that shit. I'm like, well, Facebook, if you're going to put me on notice, you're going to put them on notice too. Facebook fucking informed me that I might have made a mistake because their post did not, or their comment did not violate their terms of service, but mine did. And they acknowledged that mistakes happened, so I wasn't being suspended, but my account was on notice. So I was basically on Facebook probation. I mean, at the end of the day, I had people on my Facebook friends list where I couldn't be the real me because it would be deemed too offensive. And I'm not saying just politically incorrect or anything like that, but with my sense of humor, like I felt like I was constantly, like Facebook to me was going to fucking church for somebody's baptism. Like, I don't really want to be here. I don't know half these people well enough for them to know the real me. And so finally, after getting put on fucking Facebook probation and spending enough time basically like figuring out how to get people to interact on the Facebook pages more, I said, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm going back to basics. I'm going to go back to my roots. So I deleted that shit. Will it be a little more difficult in the long run to get more exposure for the My3B podcast? Yeah. But again, as I've spoken before, I didn't want to, like, I had let that part of it actually, like, kind of overstep the boundary into making the episodes not as fun. And so, fuck exposure. I enjoy making the podcast. I mean, if there's one fucking person out there that sits down and listens to every episode of My 3B and says, God, I love this, great. That I'm happy with that. But like, if you haven't noticed with Rawcast, I don't even share the episodes on Facebook or Twitter. I just make these episodes, I put them up, and that's the way it is. There are so many podcasts out there. There are so many striving artists, musicians, that I'm not going to try to... The way I see it is like there's a fucking bread line, but they've only got so many loaves of bread, so you have to basically do a song and dance and try to elbow people in the fucking eyeball to get a seat at the table. I'm not about that. I got away from the sales. I got away from the daily hustle. I know what I'm about. I know where I'm going. And actually, it's only been a few days since I deleted the Facebook stuff, and already I'm catching up on my reading. I got I got a few podcasts on the back burner, not my own. Like as a consumer, there are a few podcasts I'm behind on episodes. I've got um, audiobooks that have been sitting there not being listened to. And then, as somebody who likes to read physical copies of books, I'm realizing that over time, the stack of books I haven't read are growing faster than I can read them. And so, it's a simple action, but my books are kept in a dresser in lieu of a proper bookcase and in the basement. So out of sight, out of mind. And so I actually took all of the books that I have not read yet and put them up in a shelf in our living room so that they're right there. Every time I enter or exit the living room, I am now going to see those books. I was silly enough, like right now, I've got 2 different audiobooks that I was reading. Podcasts are a little bit different, but then I also have 2 physical books that I'm reading. It sounds like you're spreading yourself a little too thin. Like Bilbo Baggins says, feels like too little butter spread over too much bread. I'm paraphrasing, of course, because it's been a while since I've watched Lord of the Rings, so I can't remember exactly. I think it was butter spread over too much bread, but now I'm tackling it. It's like over the years I've conditioned my mind to almost become addicted to the chaos, like having too much on your plate so that you're constantly go, 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 that hustle, that rat race, the daily grind. And so when I was finding a little quiet, it was very easy for me to slip into depression because it's like, oh God, at the same time you feel like you have too much to do and too little to do. And so I've done a good job of slowing that down, prioritizing what's in front of me so that I can take those incremental steps forward. But man, the job throws curveballs, family throws curveballs. I get really frustrated with this idea that just because you share a bloodline with somebody that you are expected to drop everything and cater to their whims. And I know I've said it before on previous episodes, but the idea of help is very subjective. Like if I have to go to work and I need a babysitter, well, I need help with the kids so that I can go clock in. That seems like going to work seems like a justifiable reason to ask for somebody's help in regards to like if you need a babysitter. But when you've got multiple children, a sibling, living parents, and you have a spouse and a handful of friends, if you just want to basically have small talk over a coffee, but there's no coffee, and the small talk is a 10-hour conversation on the phone in one clip, you don't need my help. It sounds to me like you basically should do your own vlog and call it good from there. I know that kind of sounds like I'm talking shit about myself because I do this podcast where I don't market it, I don't promote it. I just sit down and talk to myself, essentially. But the difference is I do go back and listen to the majority of these episodes to give myself a little perspective. And what I find more often than not is when I'm processing an idea by talking about it on an episode of Rawcast. Why is my throat getting so dry? When I go back and listen to those episodes, I often find that there's a lot more to the idea that I should have covered in order for it to have been a more well-rounded thought process. And so I believe I had said something along the lines of like the difference between rural America and urban America, where, you know, basically an LGBT warrior living in Chicago isn't going to really give a shit about the daily life of a farmer in central Wisconsin. But then on the flip side, the farmer's not going to, like, you're not going to tell somebody who's working 12 to 16 hours a day on the farm that they need to learn all of these proper gender pronouns. And like I feel like that idea still makes sense. But one part that I didn't cover in talking to a friend about that topic after I had recorded that episode, they're like, yeah, but it does seem to be that, the majority of people who like talk about the gender pronouns but aren't compassionate about the trans issues are basically choosing to purposely use the wrong pronouns or go out of their way to be an asshole about the trans issues. And I didn't cover that part of it at all. But my main focus essentially was that we have to understand that different strokes for different folks. I'm not saying that, no, you have to understand that this farmer is going to be an asshole. It's just like you have to understand that if you are militant in your political beliefs any which way, you're doing more harm than good. And so it is nice for me to be able to go back and listen to these, and I feel like in listening back, it's like, oh man, I didn't cover this part of the conversation, or, I should have explored this a little bit more. I went a little too surface level on it to really get a full thought out there. Like, I'm not going to go ahead and like try to jerk off my ego and act like what I'm talking about on these episodes are profound. These are just my thoughts. I'm constantly trying to learn new things. And like I've said before, like as in matters of the mind, I find myself to be fairly liberal because I see humanity and society on an upward progression over time. I mean, a thought, actually a couple 200 years ago, maybe, you could still challenge people to a duel, and you would just, one person would walk away, the other person was dead, and that was the end of it. Well, they insulted the family, they said something horrible about your wife, so you challenged them to a duel, you won, and that was what you did at noon today. Like, we've come a long way from that. That's just one minor example. We used to have slavery. Women used to not have the right to vote. So we kind of have a forward, upward progression as a society. So if you are going to be one who is so diehard with your conservative traditionalist beliefs, the way I see it is society is going to continue to move forward and upward away from you. And so the greatest achievements that we will realize as a society, stroked out, the greatest achievements that we will realize as a society are still beyond us. They're ahead of us in the timeline. And it sounds very foolish to me to have somebody stuck in time behind you putting up resistance for us moving forward. And so though I understand that we are in a very polarized state, I want to try to have people get along, realize we're not so different, move together towards a more peaceful future. And I mean that covers some points that I had over the past couple episodes. But as for myself, the resistance that I encounter doesn't seem to be my own anymore. Not I still struggle to love myself, but I've just made a decision to stop hating myself so much. I've learned to not attach positive or negative feelings to the things that I must endure, but rather just do what needs to be done. Because attaching those inherent good or bad feelings to any given topic, like work, for example, the negative feelings are going to cause anxiety. It's going to cause depression. You're going to dread it. And then eventually you're going to have existential dread because you hate doing what you do so much that you're already taxing the hell out of yourself by the time you actually punch in. And then for the good side of things, if you are basically putting too much stock and you're inflating the expectations of a perceived good thing on the horizon, like you've got too much baggage going on right now, so you're so looking forward to this thing, you end up not managing your expectations because you get your hopes so goddamn high, you are actually setting yourself up for failure in a way that it's much harder to learn from. It's one thing to play a game and you lose and you go, oh, like say a game of chess. It's one thing to play and lose and go, my strategy wasn't very good there, so next time I'll do this. Now, when you go ahead and attach emotion to it, now you're going to have to deal with the stages of grief, and you have to work through your own emotions and feelings, and then you have to recalibrate and then re-engage. And it takes a lot more energy to go about it that way. And I still can't believe that it's been almost 48 hours since I got off that 10-hour phone call, and I still feel mentally exhausted. Yeah, not how I wanted to spend my day off. I would like to say that the other person felt a little bit better after that lengthy bitch fest, but I can't do that more than once a month because, wow. It's one thing if you're talking to somebody and you're on a similar wavelength that you can go ahead and be like, this was great. I felt recharged. I felt like my life was slightly altered for the better by the time I got off the phone. But when you're getting off the phone with somebody who it's quite obvious they don't respect your input, they don't respect your opinion, then why are you having this conversation in the first place other than to just humor them at your own expense? And so if the person that I was talking to for that long happens to hear this, or some stray friend of theirs happens to listen to this and report in, go fuck yourself. Not every feeling that I have is going to make somebody else feel good about themselves. And I'm in a place in my life where I don't have it all figured out. I'm not all knowing. I'm not all powerful. But for the most part, I am working to be a better person, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to feel like I'm carving pieces of myself out for the betterment of somebody else's feelings. I'm not going to go as far as saying fuck your feelings. In general, I did say go fuck yourself if somebody was going to out me to the person that I'm talking about. But I'm valuing my own feelings, my own emotions, and my own mind in addition to the relatively newfound appreciation for the time that I do have. And so even if I love you to fucking death, That doesn't mean I want to spend 10 hours on the phone with you. So, wow. I guess if there's something you could take away from this, is if you are having an interaction with somebody, try to leave their day a little bit brighter and don't cast a gray cloud over their well-being for the day, having been stuck interacting with you. I mean, that's like a really long roundabout way of saying, like, just don't be a dickhead. But I mean, if you cherish those around you, make them feel it. Don't make them feel like they're just a trash bag for them to throw all of their emotional baggage into you. Because man, the next time that person calls, it's going to voicemail. Like, there has to be a set amount. I don't even know what that amount of time is, but because I spent 10 hours on the goddamn phone and wasn't even given the common decency of respect of being like, here's my problem. And it's like, yeah, okay. There's a time where sometimes people just need to talk about shit and get it off their chest. But nobody, and especially this person, doesn't have enough problems in their life right now to spend 10 hours venting. Plus, I can't stand it. If you want to vent once in a while, great. I think that we should have maybe 15 minutes a week where we get to vent. But that's about it. And at the end of the day, if your goal is to just vent every single time that you open your mouth in private, and there is no indication that you want to make the effort to do something about those problems, then you're just wasting a lot of breath and somebody else's time. And so, God damn it, value your time, value your own emotions, value your own thoughts to a degree, be willing to admit when you're wrong, but don't ruin somebody else's day just because you can. So this has been episode 19 of the new era of Rawcast AD. And hopefully, if I haven't put you to sleep, or if you listen to this podcast because you like that it helps you sleep, we'll see you on episode 20. And go put a smile on your day, folks. Life is too fucking short for a 10-hour call where you're just getting beat over the fucking head. Yeah, my voice just cracked. I'm going to go get a drink. You folks enjoy your day. See you on episode 20.